As humans, we tend to lose track of what our requirements are. And if you sit down and you start writing down your requirements and you look at what you need through your day, you will write 2 full-scope pages and you'll still find things to add in. Everything from having electricity to water, to have sewage and refuse removal, access to shops and blah, blah, blah. And we forget that wildlife have very much the same requirements. Theirs probably more complex than ours because they have to navigate a world that we have altered completely, putting up fences, and the electric fences are a scourge. Roads and all manner of obstructions to natural distributions to travel from one end to another, and impedes their ability to live their life. So if you're wondering what this is all about, the introduction is simply there to serve the purpose of you understanding what our requirements are, nature really needs.
Everything, very, very much so. I think as a teacher you need to stay focused, you need to be in the right state of mind, you need to be calm as much as what you possibly can, and I think a lot of that comes from your home life. So if I'm not happy at home, then obviously I'm not going to be able to give my children the best that I can at school. So it's important for me to feel that way in order to give it to them. If I don't, it's just going to roll over. I mean, they're not going to have a good day, a good month, a good year, and possibly it'll affect their futures. Children need a good, safe, warm, loving classroom, and it's our job as teachers to provide that.
Cool. So would you think that is basically true of anybody in any profession?
Yes, I do.
To do your best, you need to be at home and comfortable at home.
I think you need to be happy.
Happy?
To be able to give your best, yes.
All right, cool. Let's say, for example, you're fairly well established in Belita. I know you've moved around a little bit in Belita, but Belita is home.
It's home, yeah.
So let's say I took you, uprooted you, and stuck you in Bloemfontein.
Where? Where is that?
It's in the middle of the Free State.
No beach.
No beach.
I don't know if I don't know. That's not my safe space. I don't know if I could. I could live there, but I don't know if I would be happy there. There's a big difference. You can survive, but can you be happy? There's a big difference to surviving and being happy.
So, all right, let's consider you had to move, and I chose Bloemfontein as an example simply because here we've got beautiful bush when you're on the coast, and we've got these lovely summers, and even though I'm in a jacket and with a beanie on most of the time,
it's the middle of winter.
It's the middle of winter, and it's nowhere near what I would be in Bloemfontein.
Right.
All right, so. But let's say, okay, let's keep us, if I said to you, I'm going to relocate you to Itete. Don't tell me you'll be at home there because there's lots of mambas. But
okay, except for the mambas there, once again, I would survive, but I wouldn't be happy because Itete would not provide me with the things that I need.
So what do you need?
The main thing, security. I need community security, which Belita has. I need food, shops. I need electricity, running water, driving distance from work. I need flushing toilets, yes please. I need medical care. I'm 2 minutes away from a hospital right now. I need basic things to make my life more safer as well. I don't think I would get that in Itete. No offense to anybody living in Itete, but I wouldn't be happy there. I mean, if you threw me in there and said I didn't have a choice, I would live, but I wouldn't thrive. I wouldn't be who I am. if I lived in
You'd be a nervous wreck.
I would be a nervous wreck. I wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't sleep. It would affect my mental health, my psychological health. I just wouldn't be the same person. Yeah.
Probably wondering where we're going.
Yes, I'm thinking what has all of these questions got to do with what we do here? Why the cameras and why? What are we doing? What's this got to do with everything? Tell me.
Yeah, I love surprises. We've had, and every year we often have this question posed. You catch a snake, what do you do with it?
Okay.
Where do you release it? Because we tell everybody we release him. And the questions arise. Where do you release?
Okay.
And I thought I wanted to create a platform for us to explain to people exactly why we're actually shipping the pythons, the mambas, the cobras, the vine snakes, the worm-slung out of our area, and why we're releasing them in Big 5 reserves. Ultimately, we deal with two different groups of snakes. The one group of snakes are harmless, and we can and should be living with these. They pose no risk to humans or pets, and they perform functions within our environment that are vitally important to maintaining some form of balance. The other group are a group of animals that in a perfect world we would be able to live with, but this is not a perfect world, and as such we shouldn't be living with them, simply because the consequence of an incident far outweighs the benefits of having these animals in an urban environment, particularly since we are maintaining harmless species there that perform the same functions, and are safe to coexist with. These more venomous snakes, more dangerous snakes, or threatened species need to be put into a space where they are free from busy roads, they're free from the risk of human interaction, they're free and safe from our pets and electric fences and various other things that do them harm. So rather put them in an environment where they're dealing with natural predators as nature would intend it, that these snakes are instinctively better equipped to deal with, and they can carry on and supply a future for that species. Let's rather place them in a wild area where their offspring also have a future. For our protected species and threatened species, they do not belong in an urban environment where they are a threat to pets and small children, and their offspring don't have a viable future, because pretty soon our whole area as it is right now is saturated with way too many of them. Let's rather leave them in an environment where they're going to benefit from that environment, and the environment is going to benefit from them, whether they're feeding on animals and maintaining numbers and balance, or whether they're being fed on by other animals and providing a valuable food resource. This area west of the N2 is largely sugarcane. And I know you asked the question about this
So many times.
and this is a cane plant.
Oh wow. Okay.
All right. So can you see the roots?
Yep.
And I'm just going to hold that up for
Pretty
the
dry.
camera. Not much sustenance here. Hey?
No.
It's just like dead wood
It's
almost.
dead, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And if we speak about the cane plant itself, the stalk, yeah, pretty indigestible. And as for the foliage and the rest of it, and I'm just going to turn it like this so that the cameras can catch that. But you can see that the plant does not offer much.
Okay.
So if I took this plant and I rinsed the roots off because I don't want to damage my blender.
Okay.
And I stuck that through a blender, and I end up with a nice pulp. The net result of that, if it goes to a lab and they analyze it, depending on which cultivar this is, it would be 0.5 to 0.8% protein. It'll be 1.4 to 1.6% vitamin and mineral.
Okay.
The bulk is going to be indigestible fiber. And anybody who wants to argue that point with me, I want to invite them to go onto the websites and go and look up the scientific papers that have been written over the years, and there's numerous ones of them, as a viability, on the viability of sugarcane as animal fodder.
Okay.
And unless you add vitamin, protein and mineral to it, the molasses can form a basis.
Out of question now.
The rest of it is all nothing.
It's nothing. Okay, so I've been doing this for a while with UNIV. I think we're going on about 15 years now. And over the years, I've had many calls from people who say that they caught a snake, but they're close to sugarcane, so they're just going to go and release it in the sugarcane. Or I've had people say to me, no, they don't walk through the sugarcane because there's snakes. How does that work? Or when I argue and I tell them, snakes can't survive in sugarcane because there's nothing for them to eat. They'll say, yes, but there's cane rats. So the snakes feed on the cane rats. They'll eat the cane
hold
rats.
it right there.
So tell me how does that work?
Cane rat is a fallacy.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a cane rat.
Okay.
There's a reed rat.
Okay.
And a reed rat is what people call a cane rat.
Okay.
So the association with cane is merely because in the drains alongside the cane fields you have indigenous bulrushes and you have reeds.
Okay.
And that is a food source for cane rats.
Okay.
The South African Sugar Association has specs on the populations of cane rats.
Cane rats.
And the last ones I checked up, and this was quite some time ago, it was about 2016, and they reckon that there's only about 4 cane rats per 10 hectares of cane.
So not enough for a snake to survive on?
No.
So snakes will not survive in sugarcane fields?
No.
Sugarcane fields are the worst place to release a snake.
Think about it. Cane itself contains no sustenance. It doesn't seed, it doesn't fruit, and it doesn't flower. So it adds nothing outside of that which could potentially be seen as a food source. And then besides that, it gets burnt every year. And April through to around about end of September, October is harvesting time, where the fields as they've matured get burnt and cut down and everything removed. That land is plowed. There's no burrows, there's no holes, there's no structure, there's nothing to hide a snake.
And there's no dead populations of snakes or anything when they...
No.
So that just goes to show there's nothing.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. Nothing can survive there.
No.
Okay. So sugarcane field is out. That's just okay. Okay, Nev. So I know now that you've mentioned why sugarcane is not viable for releases and that snakes cannot thrive in a sugarcane area. And I also know that when we do rescues in and around Ballito, we release our harmless species in our area again. We release them back in an environment in our area again. But why do you drive out to go and release venomous snakes? If we caught a forest cobra inside a bolito or a boomslang or a green mamba or a forest cobra, we don't release those in bolito again. We drive out and we go and release them outside of bolito in an area that suits them. But why and what area would suit a snake that can thrive, and especially a snake that's come from bolito to the outskirts now we're releasing?
So, you know, we've got the two basic environment differences. So east of the N2 is better suited for forest cobras and green mambas.
Okay.
And green mambas.
Okay.
And west of the N2 is better suited for black mambas. Green mambas, forest cobras, boomslang and vine snakes should not be in this sort of coastal zone. Reason for that, or numerous reasons for that. The first is simply that these zones are very fragmented and they are isolated. Think about it. To the east is the Indian Ocean, which is a no-go zone. To the west is 40 kilometers of sugarcane, and so no escape for animals out of the zone via that route. Green mambas and forest cobras aren't necessarily a safety threat to humans, but they are to the animals. And although bites are rare, the consequences are quite bad. So not something that you really want to be bitten by. Snakes themselves deal with numerous obstacles and dangers, such as electric fencing and motor vehicles and pets, domestic animals. And these animals are also at risk to these snakes. But the biggest threat comes to the genetics. These genetics trapped in this area, there's no fresh genetics coming in, and snakes will breed. Boomslang in the same range show that there is already a high volume of inbreeding, indicated by the high percentage of green females that we're getting, and the regularity of getting blue females, which shows a genetic deficiency of yellow pigmentation. We also sit with the predicament that we do have a coastal population of dwarf chameleons, and these are extremely at risk from overpopulation of vine snakes in particular. There are plenty boomslang, but I would never consider them as being overpopulated in the zone. So it's better to remove snakes from this sort of environment and introduce them into these areas, which has got huge expanses of forest, all interlinking, trees that are to 300, 400 years old, some of them, and upper canopy of around about 10 to 12 meters, and in some places even higher. Old established trees, plenty of holes in the trunks, and fallen tree trunks that are hollowed out. So plenty of shelter spaces, diversity. For a green mamba or a forest cobra or any snake to survive, their dependency is on the biodiversity of the vegetation, because most of these snakes are feeding off birds, and the birds are attracted to trees and plants for a food source or a nesting source. You don't have diversity, you don't have a consistent food supply throughout the summer months and deep into the winter months with the seeding, then you're not going to have a decent food chain. The indigenous forests up north have got large areas with huge diversity, and they can supply a steadfast food supply to animals. Black mambas and spitting cobras thrive in this settlement area. There are plenty of rats and other rodents to eat. The only issue is that it's high density population. It's a sector of the public that do not have the funds to go to a private hospital. And very frankly, if you go to a government hospital here on the north coast with a black mamba bite, I don't give much for your chances of survival. Although we have seen recent cases being referred to private hospitals, and the private hospitals actually on and doing the right thing, the victim surviving. The big risk is people won't even get to hospital alive, and so on. We cannot have these animals in these highly populated areas. A black mamba and a Mozambique spinning cobra deserves to be out in the bush, be in the open shore system, around, lots of shelter around, good sun exposure, no roads, no electric fences, and a good opportunity to survive in the same fashion as what animals are designed to survive. The genetics should push through. If we are relocating animals that are not of strong genetics and cannot deal with going into an open predation zone where they're not likely to be killed by a human, but they could be predated upon by numerous other smaller predators, and they can't survive that, shouldn't be surviving. So it just makes all the sense in the world to protect the biodiversity and try and minimize the inbreeding issues inside the areas, allow these animals to get out and
there's enough of a food supply for the vine snakes outside of the area as well for them to survive. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, vine snakes are not fussy. They will eat everything.
Okay, all right.
So they eat snakes, they eat lizards, geckos, tree frogs, normal frogs. They eat even lizards as big as agamas, blue-headed agamas.
I've actually caught one that was busy eating an agama, yeah.
And birds, eggs.
Everything. So the food source is a wide variety for vine snakes. They won't struggle.
They won't struggle food-wise.
So the least we can do is try and help our chameleons because there's enough of everything
100%.
else. Okay, that's about it. I'm trying to think of something else that I've always wanted to ask you. Are women better snake catchers than men?
The men out there are going to kill me. But generally, women are better snake catchers than men.
Oh, I'm going to share this so far away.
And the reason why I say that is A, women have more compassion than men.
Aww.
They tend to treat snakes far kinder, more gently, and in a proper fashion. Whereas men come along and if I can put a tongue on this thing, lift it up and shake it around and prove I'm a hero, I am going to hit all the likes on Facebook and I'm going to be the hero of the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas that does not make you a hero.
Yeah. And also there's a difference between a rescue and a snake removal. You know, a snake rescue and a snake catcher, I always say. Snake rescue is somebody who puts the well-being of the snake first. And a snake catcher is somebody who will just walk in and tongue it and drag it away. Snake catcher. Snake rescue shows compassion and love and respect for the animal. That's a rescue.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I always try and follow that.
That's what it is.
Which you instilled, which is great, yeah.
Don't miss our next clip where we discuss ethical handling and proper handling practices and all the other criteria that goes around that, like handling equipment and training and all that. It's all going to come into that clip. Something you do not want to miss.